You need shade ideas for containers and shady spots. We are at Hamstra Gardens in DeMotte, Indiana, and here's a few ideas for you. Our walk through the beautiful Hamstra Gardens in DeMotte, Indiana, it inspired me to come home to our greenhouse and look around at all of our house plants and see what we can add to our shade planters here. Know that you can mix house plants with your other plants as well. So even though these are tropical, you could grow a lot of these plants outdoors during the summer months, just making sure to bring those in during the winter because they will not survive our winter here in Ohio. And so let's look at a few of the plants that we sell as house plants that you can use in your planters around your home in a shady area. Talking about a shady area, you want to make sure that the shady area that these planters are going in, they get about 2 to 4 hours of sun per day, considered shade. First up is palms. So not only are palms great for the indoors in an indoor area, but you can also plant palms in planters as we had seen in the earlier videos at Hamstra Gardens. So I love how they mixed palms in with various other shady plants and they put them in their planters in their landscape. I love that. Palms make for a great filler plant or a center of a container plant or even at the back of a container, giving you plenty of tall height either in the center or at the back. The other thing I noticed as we walked through the Hamstra Gardens is that they used rubber plants in the center of a lot of their planters. And so that is a fun idea as well. So not only are rubber plants or a ficus great for indoor planters, but you can also put these outside as well. This gorgeous rubber plant, this is the tiki variety. I just love this for the variegation in the color. Again, this would look striking in the center of a shady planter. Yellow gem variety in the center of a planter as well. Of course, in the planters, there was lots and lots of ferns, and so that is a great idea as well. This maidenhair fern, that is such a beautiful fern. We also have like the Boston ferns, that is another gorgeous fern for the shady spot. There's also plumosa, which is another beautiful fern. You can also use these in floral arrangements as well. Staghorn fern is another great fern for shady spots or maybe even hanging alone on a tree. And of course, Kimberly Fern. So Kimberly Fern is more of an upright fern that is gorgeous in the center of containers as well. We also have a beautiful button fern. So these beautiful button ferns look great falling over the side of a container. So they would kind of work as a filler going over the side of your container, and they're just really gorgeous for like a shady spot. And there's a silver brake fern. This is a gorgeous for some light color in with whites and greens in a container in a shady spot. Not least the foxtail fern. That's also a great upright fern, putting in the center of your container for a thriller. A great plant that you can add to your planters, not just indoors but outside, is the Arrowhead plant. Arrowhead plant adds some, this also is in green and white, pink, various colors as well. This is a burgundy red tint. Arrowhead plant, so pretty. I love its texture and color. This is also great to add to your foliage container or add to your shade planters. Here's another plant that is commonly considered a house plant, which it is a house plant in most places. It is the peace lily. So we grow this here indoors, but you can also plant peace lilies outside in a shady container, in a shady spot in your garden. So this is a fun plant to mix in with other shade plants in your garden. And keeping in mind though, you want to bring this inside if you want it to come back the following year. A little bit of variegation to your foliage containers or to your shade planters. You could plant some of these Marinata prayer plants in your planters as well. So in a shady spot in your garden, these would look so beautiful trailing over the edge of your containers. Next up is Tradescanthia bubblegum. I love the beautiful texture in the foliage of this Tradescanthia bubblegum. It is definitely a favorite of mine for sure. I love this color mixing in with whites and purples and greens. This would really brighten up a shady spot in your garden. The houseplant planters that we plant, we will send them in for a memorial service or a funeral, or maybe even a get well gift or something like that. We'll add fresh to this planter and send it someone. But you can also take planters like these and not only grow them indoors, but you can also put them outside in a shady spot at your home as well. You can also mix pothos in with your other plants in your containers around your home, especially in those shady spots. This is a golden pothos that adds a little touch of texture and some variegation, and just something a little different than your typical shade plants, shady annuals that we sell. Plants and tropicals, they just give it a touch of fun to your containers that are different than the rest of the shade plants. Next up is Dracaena. So Dracaena is related to the spike family, and this is also something that you can plant as a thriller or even as a filler in your houseplant planters that go in a shady spot. Again, this color just brightens up a shady area planted with the rest of your shade plants. Another plant that you could plant in the center of a container that gets large and full is this white birds of paradise. So this birds of paradise gets large, big leaves, also produces, again, that birds of paradise bloom. These look so gorgeous in containers. You can plant it, mix it with other things, or you can do it as a just one big plant, either indoors or outside on a patio, again in about part sun to shade. Another plant that I noticed when we were walking around at Hamstra Gardens that they used in their containers, and that is Servira or snake plants. So the snake plant is a great plant as well to add in with your annuals or perhaps it's going in a shady spot. One thing about Servira, it can take really bright light or it can take more indirect shady area light as well. Another great plant, not just for shady spots, but you can also plant this in the sun. So sometimes these are considered house plants as well, but you can also use them as foliage plants in the outdoors. The banana plant, it gets really large leaves. It's gorgeous in the center of containers or in the landscape. It gets really big. It's really beautiful, and you can bring these inside during the winter months and overwinter them and then put them back outside next spring. This plant is cordyline. Cordyline is also considered a tropical plant. You can either grow this as a house plant inside, or you can plant this outside in the center of containers. Maybe it's a sunny spot, or if it's in more of a shady spot. These do spectacular all summer long. They get huge, large, big leaves and lots of color. More of the Dracaena in a beautiful pink burgundy color. And if that looks striking in your containers in a shady spot, that would just brighten up that spot. When it comes to plants for shady spots, I think so many times it can get a little hard to figure out what to plant in those areas because there's just not a whole lot. So remember that you can definitely use house plants in those shady spots. You just want to bring those house plants indoors for the winter to overwinter indoors and then put them back out next spring. So I hope this video has been helpful to you and you've gotten a little bit of inspiration to use when it comes to planting shade planters around your home. Caitlin Miller, and I'm from Miller Flowers here in Greenville, Ohio. Thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe to our channel and we'll see you next time.